Hi friends. I just want to hop on and give a little rundown about my chemo days. I have had some questions about it, so I just wanted to give a little more detailed information about what goes on my chemo days. So, first when I go into the hospital, they access my port. I have a dual port. So every other this treatment they're on the inside, next treatment they'll go on the outside. But I'm sure a lot of you have seen yesterday my photo that I posted on my story about the tubes that were hanging down. A lot of the time since I started back up in March, it has been giving issues. They'll access one side and the blood isn't, they're not getting a blood return from it. So then they have to go in and access the other side, and then that's not giving a blood return. I mean, I sit there and I do all these different kind of tricks. I'll put my arms over my head, I'll breathe, deep, heavy in, heavy out. I'll look to the left, to the right, bend over. I mean, we do all these tricks and it still doesn't end up working. So then they end up having to poke me for a third time and get the blood from the vein in my arm. Then they have to put in this thing called TPA, which is like a blood thinner, because a lot of times when you've had ports for so long, they get clogged up. So that usually goes in, stays in there for probably about an hour, and then the blood comes right out. It's just super frustrating. I just want to get poked I don't want to get poked at all, but I would rather just get poked once and then, be on my day. So after all of that's done, they get my blood counts and everything, make sure everything is good. If my white blood cells are too low, then they'll give me a Neulasta shot, which is just a white blood cell booster. And then I will be able to go and get my treatment. So once everything is all good to go with my blood and everything, I'll start on my anti-nausea meds. I'm on 2 of them. The first one is Savanti, and it's given over 2 minutes. It has to be given very slowly because one of the side effects of it is very uncomfortable. It causes, if it's administered too fast, it causes a burning, itching sensation in your genital areas and in your bum, and it's very, very uncomfortable. I can always tell when a nurse, not my nurse Faith, but other randoms that I get, if they are rushing, because I get that feeling and it's very uncomfortable, and it happens to everybody. And the other one that I get is Aloxi, and it's kind of like a milky, creamy, white substance, and it tastes disgusting. That's administered slowly too, not as slow as the Savanti, but it's still, if it gets administered too fast, then the taste of it is just unbearing. Then they give me a steroid, dexamethasone. I'm sure a lot of you probably have heard about it recently when dealing with COVID, but I'm not going to get into that because that's not what I'm using it for. But dexamethasone, it's a multi-use steroid. You use it in a lot of things, but how it is used for me is that it has inhibitory effects on cell migration. So it's to stop the growth of cancer cells by either killing the cells or to stop them from dividing. So that's what that's for. And then we let those run for a little while so they get into my system. Some of them need to run for at least 30 minutes to get into my system before they can start giving me my other meds. So once that is all through my body, then they give me Avastin, which is given over 10 minutes. And it is a tumor-starving anti-angiogenic therapy. And so the purpose of Avastin is to prevent new blood vessel growth, which includes normal blood vessels and blood vessels that feed tumors. And so the word angiogenic means growth of new blood vessels. So the Avastin is an anti-angiogenic So I get that first, and then I get leucovorin, and that's when I get it right now with the 5-FU, which I'll go into when I talk about the other chemos. Right now, it was given to me over an hour, but then they just recently changed it to where it's given to me over 30 minutes. And it is given in combination of the chemo that I'm on now, the 5-FU, and it can enhance the binding of 5-FU to an enzyme inside the cancer cells. With leucovorin added to the regimen, 5-FU may stay in the cancer cell longer and exert its anti-cancer effect on the cells. So leucovorin does play a big part in 5-FU, because if you were to do 5-FU, the chemo that I'm on now, by itself, it's not going to stay in the body, in the cancer, as long as if you were to have the leucovorin with it. So we'll get into the chemos now. So the chemo that I'm on right now is 5-FU. It's fluorouracil. I don't know. That's why they call it 5-FU. I'm on it for 46 hours, which is the normal time frame for anybody getting it. I have seen other cancer patients say that they've been on it for like 53 hours. So it's in the vicinity of that, but the majority of the time it's for 46 hours. So some of the side effects, everybody is different. I'll just talk about the side effects that I get from it, but everybody gets different side effects from all of these chemos. It's not across the board for everybody. For me, nausea, sometimes it can cause vomiting, but thank goodness it hasn't happened this time around, just once when my first treatment or my second treatment this time around. Bleeding gums when I brush my teeth, it messes, this is for everybody, it messes up your teeth, your gums, your mouth. It's awful. And cancer patients can't go to the dentist because there's too much of a risk of infection. So numbness, my hands, my arms, my fingers go numb all the time. It's very annoying. I could be doing the dishes, holding my phone like this, writing something, coloring, driving. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, laying down. My hands, my arms will go numb. One of the things that they always said with chemo, stay out of the sun. You need to make sure you protect yourself, only limit your time in the sun. And I never really knew why until it was 2 years ago. I had a little sunburn, and we went to the beach on Monday, and then I had my chemo treatment, or Sunday, and then I had my chemo treatment on Tuesday. And as soon as I got hooked up to this and I came home, like the chemo started going through my body, I immediately got a chemical burn. So I had it all over my chest, all over my legs, my face. It was the worst burn I had ever had in my life. So when they say don't go in the sun, don't go in the sun. So that's why I'm not really in the sun that much. But I've learned ways to get around it so I can get my vitamin D and enjoy my time at the beach. But it hurts. Mouth sores, that has been a killer for me. That's one of the main reasons of why they reduced my chemo from 100% down to 80%, because the mouth sores have been so unbearable. It hurts. I've had one since November. I don't know how to get rid of it. They have put me on so many different rinses and nothing is helping my mouth. So I'm praying that now that we're back to 100%, that it doesn't happen again. So, those are just some of the things that I experienced with 5-FU, with all the chemos. It's fatigue, tiredness, I have no energy, my muscles are weak, my brain just gets fried. I'm surprised I'm doing as well as I am right now making this video, because this is day 2. Usually I'm like down for the count. It's a lot of indescribable feelings. So the other one that I was on, oxaliplatin, that one is given in the hospital. When I have that one, the leucovorin then will run over 90 minutes. And oxaliplatin is a bad one. It causes sensitivity to cold. So if I were to need to get something out of my freezer or maybe even my refrigerator, I have to put gloves on. Excuse me. I can't touch silverware because the metal of it is so cold. It hurts my hands. It's like, think about having, when your hands fall asleep or your feet fall asleep and you have the pins and needles. It's like that, but times a million. It is so, so very painful. It's hard to go outside. If I go outside like in the wintertime, I literally have to bundle up. And even if I leave my eyes exposed, it burns my eyes. It's just such a painful thing. I have to wear goggles. So I'm always trying to not avoid, but hope that I don't have to be on oxaliplatin in the winter months because it is very, very painful. I get this rash on my hands and my feet. My hands will just turn red and it hurts so bad. And I'll try every lotion under the sun and it just doesn't take it away. Vomiting, of course, that's always fun. Muscle fatigue, it's so bad. I remember one time I came home from the hospital and I had my friends with me and she had to help me. I don't know if it was you, Jamie. I had to have her help me, and then my downstairs neighbor had to help me walk up my stairs. I couldn't even do it. I just kept shaking. It was like I didn't even have any muscles to use. And then of course, that one time when Mikey had to help me out of bed and put me on the toilet to go to the bathroom and then take me off and put me back into bed. It's very painful. With all of the chemos, I'll get into irinotecan, but with all of the chemos, it causes a lot of fatigue, tiredness, weakness, the physical, emotional, and mental distress it causes a person. It's another thing that's indescribable. I mean, you just don't understand unless you've gone through it what chemo actually does to you physically and mentally. It's very hard. And then, you also get neuropathy. It affects your nerves. It's another, and then the hand and foot syndrome where I didn't do too much. It's hard to explain. Then you get chemo brain. I can't even, I already had like a bad memory before, but now it's like 1,000 times worse. It's like my brain is always in a constant fog. That's the best way to describe it for anyone that hasn't been on chemo, because when you hear someone say chemo brain, it is a legit thing. It's awful. So irinotecan. So they introduced irinotecan to me in last year? And it was the worst. The first dose that they gave me with irinotecan, maybe TMI, I'm gonna tell you all the side effects, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So with irinotecan, what happens with everybody that takes irinotecan is you get wicked bad diarrhea. Think about your worst diarrhea that you've ever had in your life and times it by 1,000. It's awful. If you want to know more about it, I'll tell you, but I'm not going to get too into it, because it's ugly. So that was one of my major side effects. So for my first dose, I threw up for I think it was 16 hours straight. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can handle this. This is really bad. So then I did my second dose. I had never been so sick in my life. I threw up for 6 days straight all day long. I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't drink anything. If I even put a little drop of water into my mouth, I immediately threw it up. There was nothing that I could put in my mouth that would stay in my stomach. Even if I put gum, I'm actually chewing gum now. I haven't been able to chew gum in a very long time because it just reminded me of the hospital and chemo and everything. But you know, Kim was there for me for that one, and it was scary. I literally thought that this chemo was going to kill me. Like, that's how sick I was. So these are just, this is just a little rundown of, you know, the medications that I'm on for this cancer and the chemos and some of the side effects. We'll see how this goes, being back at 100%. I hope as long as it's manageable, then we're good. And I hope that it does its job and it stabilizes everything and, you know, things stop growing. But I've been talking for too long and I'm starting to feel really nauseous, so I'm gonna go. But seriously, if there's ever anything you guys want to know about anything that I've gone through, anything that I'm going through, anything at all, you can just message me and I will do these videos and I will talk about it. Nobody needs to know you're asking these questions if you don't want to ask it, you know, because I know sometimes people, they want to know things, but they feel, you know, too shy to ask them, or they don't want other people knowing that you're asking the questions. I know how people are. I'm kind of the same way too. So, you know, this is one thing that I am an open book about. I'm honest about. I will tell you every ugly, awful thing that I have experienced. You know, if it helps one person, like I've always said before, if it helps one person to, you know, get the strength to go to their doctor because they know, you know your body. Doctors don't know your body. You know your body and you know what you're feeling on the inside. And you know when there's something wrong. You need to go and you need to advocate for yourself because nobody's going to do it for you. I learned the hard way. I probably wouldn't be a stage 4 if they would have listened to me and I would have fought harder, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, so there's a little insight into my chemo. So any questions, please feel free to ask me and I will answer away.